The other week ago, I spoke about the possibility of two very qualified broadcast people who would have the financial wherewithal to possibly put together, not possibly, matter of factly, put together a radio deal in the Bay Area, a frequency on terrestrial radio that could be the home for a news talk outlet, much like the old KGO radio was. And I stated that those two people, one of whom was Jim Gabbert, the other was Mickey Luckoff. They both have connections. They are both, I don't know the definitive capacity in terms of their business relationship, but I understand that they have properties, radio stations, in of all places, Illinois, Kankakee, Illinois, to be exact. So I mentioned that Gabbert and Luckoff, who very much are together in terms of business, they know each other. Luckoff operated the old KGO. And Jim Gabbert, of course, had K101 in the early days, a radio station, KPEN. He was basically the pioneer behind FM stereo in the late 70s and the early 80s. Sold K101 and bought TV 20, Channel 20, the little station, and then eventually sold that, made a very large, handsome profit, anywhere from about 150 to $200 million. And even as they near 90, they're both very fluid, very lucid, and again have the influence and the financials that you would need to pull something off. The only problem, and there's many, and I knew this going in, people would tell me, oh, well, they don't like to spend money. Well, duh. Gabbert especially doesn't like to spend money. He's notoriously cheap. I'm going to say that because I'm not here to make friends. He's cheap. Luckoff, about the same frugality, but Luckoff is kind of moody and can be very petty. I never met him. I've sat near him at a Cal game when they were playing Stanford in the big game, but I know about Luckoff. But Gabbert, there used to be a joke, and it's true. There used to be this joke. Do you remember at TV 20, they had the dogs? Remember, they would do the IDs. You've got what you're looking for, TV 20, and then they'd have a dog barking. He loved dogs. So what was the joke? The joke was, why did Jim Gabbert use dogs on TV 20? And the answer is they wouldn't have to pay him. That's how cheap he was and is. I haven't met Gabbert in a long time, haven't spoken to him, but he does not like to spend money. I don't know why. Maybe it's some kind of a family trait. He just doesn't like spending money. So the idea of him being involved in a new venture, yeah, I knew. I was very naive, is about a 0 to 10. On that basis, it'd be about a 0 plus maybe a millimeter. Luckoff, for some reason, doesn't want to be involved in a new venture. He tried, they say, after the immediate KGO shutdown. I'm not talking a couple of years ago. I'm talking about what happened when the original KGO went awry and they put in some facsimile, which was nothing like the 70s, 80s KGO. And Luckoff is just petty, to be frank. And how do I know that? Firsthand. I know it firsthand. Because when Ron Owens beat Luckoff in arbitration, in the late 80s, early 90s. Luckoff wouldn't speak to Ron Owens for a good couple of years. They, of course, worked in the same building, but Luckoff wouldn't even look at Ron Owens. And this is before all the issues that are currently taking place with regards to Ron Owens and family. Luckoff doesn't like to lose. He doesn't have a particularly warm sense of humor, personality. So, in order to make a deal, in order to do something that frankly wouldn't be that difficult, it would require a bit of, shall we say, creativity, and yes, a little bit of financial participation, but nothing significant. The way radio is these days, other than sports as a format, sports talk and news talk, music is dying on terrestrial radio, especially AM and FM radio. So these two, while yes, it would be awesome and paramount that they be involved in a possibility of getting a frequency to go to news talk, it wouldn't be the end of the world. There are loads of people out there, including some of the people I'm speaking to right now. People say in the Silicon Valley region of the Bay Area who have vast sums of money, billionaires, not just millionaires, billionaires. And some of these billionaires, they make their money, sure, on hedge funds and money market accounts and financials like that, but they also have the financial wherewithal to take a little bit of a chance. And they're all out there. Some of them have financed online publications like the San Francisco Standard and a guy by the name of Michael Moritz. There are people out there who are older. Of course, there are. But that demographic is no longer the demographic that advertisers want to get away from. Sure, the prevailing wisdom is that most advertisers go after the so-called Gen Xers or the Zers, the ones who have the headphones on and listening to their stupid phones and who watch Netflix and all that. Of course, they want those. Of course, they do. But there's a group of people in their early to mid 70s, late 60s, who used to listen to KGO, who, as I've stated many a times, these are people that have lots of money. Some have retired, some are still working, but they have the financial get-go to go on vacation, to buy mattresses and retail things and shopping at gourmet food stores. Companies and advertisers oftentimes don't pay attention to. Well, these people used to listen to KGO or news talk outlets, and they like engaging. They like paying attention to what's going on in the news. God knows we have a lot of things going on in the news lately. But my point is, Luckoff probably ain't going to get involved because he's too skitterish and he's too petty. That's just being blunt. Gabbert, I've indicated, is a frugal nothing burger. He's cheap. He does not like to spend money. He's going to be 90 in a couple of months. I guess he wants that money that he has stowed away somewhere to go to the government, to go to the state, because he certainly isn't investing in a potential new KGO-like frequency. And that's just the facts. So why did I mention them the other day? Because they would be key. Not 100% necessary, but they would be key. But reputations don't go away. And these guys have had reputations for their frugality and their pettiness for decades. It's difficult, ego-wise, too, to put them together in a room and let them negotiate and talk. They don't believe in new concepts. They don't believe in restoring something that, ironically, of all people, speaking of the subject matter, it was none other than Jim Gabbert in the last moments before he sold TV 20. Remember that show he put on, that homage to American Bandstand? It was called Dance Party. That was Jim Gabbert trying to be Dick Clark. That was Jim Gabbert bringing back American Bandstand TV 20 style. So he devised and created this kind of funny hour-long program that ran once a week, usually on Saturday night, and they repeated it, but it was people dancing, much like American Bandstand. He called it Dance Party. And he tried to be Dick Clark. Well, there was only one Dick Clark. But the funniest thing is, it required some money. They had to build a little bit of a new studio, yada, yada, yada. But now Gabbert, as he's nearing 90 and still apparently very lucid and funny and creative and talk centro, doesn't want to get involved, I'm hearing. And he's entitled to that. But it's just funny. There are people out there who have the ways and means to pull such a venture off. Remember, folks, please become a paid subscriber to this channel. Make a donation, become a paid subscriber. It's $15 for the year. If you want to be a paid subscriber, click on the PayPal icon and join. It's fast, easy, safe, secure, and convenient. If you just want to make a donation, that's fine too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.